This is what the 20 millimeter, what the German fighters fired at us. And then this is our 50 caliber. I had two 50 caliber guns in the nose, which I manned. We had 10 aboard, 10 guns. And this is what the 30 caliber normal rifleman had. I mentioned Russia. This is a piece of German shrapnel that I found on my bunk in Russia, 21st of June.
The following is presented with limited editing. Those interviewed are witnesses to history and deserve to have their stories heard in their entirety.
So can you describe kind of like what a typical mission for a B-17 crew would look like? So you said that they would brief you the night before, or like what does a mission look like?
They call us in that they'd certainly come in our Quonset hut 2:30 in the morning and say, Anatol's crew, you're flying, that's us. And we'd go get breakfast, and then we go into a briefing room, and they show us a target, tell us what the weather's going to be, what opposition we thought we were going to have. And then we'd break up into smaller groups. The bombardiers would get blown up pictures of the target. The navigators would get their instructions. They had to be minute by minute because they're meeting other groups and the fighters to pick us up, so they got their instructions too. And then we'd go out to the plane and wait. If there's a green flare, the mission was on. A red flare, it was aborted, generally because of bad weather with the target. Of course, we always prayed for the red flare, not one to go. But anyway, if we get in the plane and we take off about every 20, 30 seconds. Our 18 planes or 24 we were flying that day. And we go through the clouds, which was always so scary because you had all those planes taking off. There are 28 bomber bases in a small area of England, and they're all taking off within a half hour. And there were collisions taking off them. We'd get above the clouds, maybe 5,000 or 6,000 feet. And then we'd head in our group. Our leader of 18 planes, we had 3 squadrons, lead squadron, and then we had 6 in a high squadron and 6 in a low squadron. And of course, each plane had 10 50 caliber guns to protect us. I had 2 in the nose, the engineer had 2 top turrets, the ball turret had 2 below, a waist gunner on each side had 1, the tail gunner had 2 also. So we had 10, and collectively we had 180 guns protect us from German fighters. And we flew very close to each other too. And we'd check our guns going over the channel, make sure they're working. And I'd go back and take pins out of the bombs. The bombs are not armed when they're put aboard. They have to take the cotter pin out. There's a vane that spins around. When it hits the air, it releases a detonator. So when it hits the ground, the detonator will explode. But they are not armed until I take the cotter pin out and the bomb hits the air. And then we go on oxygen about 10,000 feet, and we generally cross the coast about 10,000 feet and head for the target. And of course, we try to avoid flag zones, which are the German anti-aircraft, but every town was pretty well protected. And once we got to our initial point, the IP, we went straight and level for 10 or 12 minutes right down to our target. And we're sitting ducks really for the German anti-aircraft. And as I said, there are 3,401 planes shot down in 1944 by flak and another 600 by fighters. So it was tough. And we bombed our target, and we'd drop immediately 2,000 feet to get out of the flak range and reassemble, and then hopefully go home, fight your way out if the Germans are still, the Luftwaffe is still there fighting you.
you, on any of the missions, do you recall seeing planes go down because of flak?
Oh, sure. In many missions, you'd see them go down. As I said, on Leipzig, we lost 3 out of our group. That one in Merseburg, one of out of the squadron went down. No, we see it. When you get back home, at briefing, they ask you if you saw planes going down, whether you saw parachutes and how many, and also whatever intelligence could give them, whether ships in the channel or trains up and down and wherever they were, or trucks.
Okay, so after D-Day, see that it would have been about maybe a month before Operation Cobra, or so.
About 7 weeks.
7 weeks. Can you tell me about that?
Well, I flew 2 days after D-Day, went to bomb the Loire, bridges over the Loire River, which cuts right across France, again to keep the Germans from bringing troops aboard. We flew another 4 missions into Germany, various targets. And then on the 21st of June, we went in the briefing room, and oh my God, we were flying from England, bombing outside of Berlin, Rouen, and proceeding to Poltva, Russia. This is 21st of June. We were in there 11 and a half hours. And we landed, all planes lined up 48 B-17s right in a row, wingtip to wingtip. In England, they're dispersed all over the field. And we were tended on the edge of the field. And that night, about midnight, there's like a flare, just like daylight. The Germans proceeded to bomb the field for the next hour. Destroyed 47 of our 48 B-17s. I just ran when the bombs started falling, and about a quarter mile away, I found a slit trench from the Russian family was in there, so I just slid it in with them till the bombing was over. Then went back to my tent, and that piece of German shrapnel burned through the top of the tent right to my blanket. About a half pound for this small piece of shrapnel. So we're stranded in Russia for 2 weeks. I did go to Mirgorod, the other bomber base. They were cloud covered that night, so they did get bombed, and helped them load bombs for the next couple of days. Then went back to Poltava. And then the Air Transport Command sent trains in for us, planes in for us, and we came out through Rostov. And I remember that because we entertained the Russians at dinner and singing back and forth. I had a shooting contest with them with my 45. I was lousy. But anyway, I remember at dinner we had a water glass full of vodka. Breakfast next morning, water glass full of vodka. We were high before we took off and got high. And from there we went into a little Russian town. We tried to go into Tehran, but we couldn't because of cloud cover in Tehran. And went in this little Russian town right near the border of Tehran and Iran. Next day went into Tehran. And that was unusual because here all of Europe was blocked out. England was blacked out as well. And here's Tehran, bright out, big city and all these lights. And well, unfortunately, I'd taken my escape kit out of our plane before it burned up. And our escape kit had French money, Dutch money, and Belgian money, and also was 50 American dollars that trip. Plus our map was in there and a file and other Benzodrine to keep you awake. So we had that. But we went into Tehran and that night, the 4 officers, and we found a hotel right on the edge of town with a bar on the roof. So we blew my 50 American dollars right there. And then from Tehran, we went into Cairo and then to Libya and to Casablanca. And we're supposed to board a plane for Casablanca the next day, but we met some naval aviators that night and we had a good time with them. So we made plans for the next night and the next night. And finally they said, you get on that plane and fly home or else. So I did. So we got home, I guess about the 5th or 6th of July. And then on 14th of July, I started flying again. We flew 11 missions in 17 days. That mission, The next mission was my 15th, I think it was. We dropped supplies to the French underground way down southern France. And what was unusual about that mission, we crossed the coast of 10,000 as usual and let down. But we had an extra bomber with us, and when you're in getting the group, before you cross the channel, if you can't find your own group, you attach yourself to another group. And this bomber was with us, except he had live bombs aboard. And we finally got in touch with him, don't drop, because we were down to 1,000 feet when we dropped our canisters to the French underground. And then we came back to England, and I said, the start of 11 missions in 17 days, which included Schweinfurt, Merseburg twice, Stuttgart, Dusseldorf. And you asked about St. Lo, the Cobra. We were briefed on the 24th, we took off, 24th of July, and the weather's bad. Our target is right in front of American troops that were stuck in France, about 20 miles inland. And for 7 weeks after D-Day, they couldn't move because the hedgerows of France. And we came back and went back on the 25th of July and dropped our bombs, right, the whole Air Force right in front of our troops. Unfortunately, a few fell short and killed some of our own men. But the mission was accomplished within a month. Paris was liberated.